receiver coach at Penn State University, and he's going to be talking about some offensive topics in kind of an analyzation type session. So a reminder to our participants, you will notice you've got a Q&A box. Some of you it's on the bottom, some of you it's on the top of your screen. If you have a question for Coach, please put it in that Q&A box. All right, that will be on his screen as well, and then he can see that if you have any questions. Otherwise, if you're having problems with anything or you need something else, then use that chat button. Otherwise, please keep it to the Q&A. And other than that, Coach, the floor is yours. Thank you so much, Coach Carpenter from Penn State.
Sweet. I appreciate that. So, Coach, if I hit share screen, we should be good to go here. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, guys. So like Coach just said there, if you guys have any questions, obviously just type into the chat there. I'll try to get to them as best as I can. If your question stinks, then I'm not going to waste everybody's time. But I don't think we'll have to cross that bridge. Okay, so just real quick. So I have 60 minutes here. Normally, you guys that are familiar with Blazer, it's like 3 sessions, right? You go back to back to back. I'm going to try to give you what I believe to be our greatest hits, if you will. So I'm going to bounce around between the 3. Like I said, if there's anything that you guys are particularly interested in, please just reach out through that box, and then I'll give my contact information as we go. Okay? So quick note about myself. I went to Penn State as an undergrad. I interned for the Texans. I just kind of got lucky based on Coach O'Brien's timeline there. I was at Princeton. I coached the quarterbacks at a small school in Rhode Island. Now I'm back at Penn State. Okay, so for 2020, these are our objectives as a Penn State coaching staff. You guys can read them yourselves. They are very self-explanatory, and that is on purpose. So we want to put our players in a position to be successful. We want to keep it simple, and we want to be great teachers. There's a play last season that comes to mind against Minnesota, right? Minnesota beat us last year, where we threw a jump ball to our slot receiver. And afterward, we got together as a staff in the morning, and it was like, you know what? Come crunch time, was that putting our best player in a position to be successful? And we all kind of concluded like, no, not really. And that's a small, I'm sure we all have them as coaches, but that was a powerful lesson for me. It was like, okay, here's one of our best players, even though it looked maybe good at the time on a whiteboard, it looked good at practice. When push came to shove, was that giving him the best advantage in that situation? Okay, those other 2 you guys can read. All right, so the 2 game day statistics that we look at more than anything else. And again, everyone has their own, but here's the 2 things that Penn State values above all else. Turnover margin, number 1, and then number 2, the explosive play battle. And we quantify an explosive run as runs of 12 or more and passes of 15 or more. The third thing, I don't know if I realize it's not up here. If any of you guys read Michael Lombardi. Michael Lombardi was an NFL executive for many, many years. If you guys don't follow him on Twitter or read any of his, he writes for different magazines. One thing that he's a huge proponent of is what he refers to as a 4-point play. A 4-point play, meaning in the red zone on 3rd down, if you kick the field goal because you didn't pick it up, that's 3 points. If you do pick it up and you score on that drive, being understood that you make the extra point, that's 7 points. So in Lombardi's mind, the 3rd down in the red zone is the most important statistic that you could look at in the box score outside of these 2 things. So that resonated with me. And again, just to explain that, that's 3rd down in the red zone. Lombardi says you should spend an inordinate amount of time on. Someone asked a Twitter handle. Not sure. I apologize. I can. I'll find it after this, and I can share that somehow. All right. So again, you guys can if you're home, I'm more than happy. You can take a picture of the slide or whatever. Tom Brady, for instance, right? Well, I realize that we all want more Tom Brady. But one of the things about Brady's completion percentage is it's 68% in his career. It's 63, I think, actually. It's 63%, 0.8, okay? 63.8%. And then in the playoffs, it's 63, right? Which is a very remarkable thing that in crunch time, it's essentially the exact same. And any time that we are looking at a quarterback, we want to see his completion percentage, not just his junior year. What is it after the recruiting winds down, once he's committed to a place? How can we find a quarterback that's going to be consistent in all phases of the pass game? And again, these are some of the other things that we value, like the pro agility, the 5-10-5, the NFL cone drill. We value that more than we do the 40 because we're saying, okay, if you're going to pull the ball on zone read, well, we may not ask you to pick up 50 yards. You got to be able to get us 5, and that's normally in a short space. So that's what we believe. I'm not saying that all these are right, but these are kind of our core tenets at Penn State. All right, so let's talk about our game plan procedure. This is, I'm actually glad that this slide's early on in here because in my mind, it's one of the things that separates our offense from others. Okay, so if you use the analogy of a baseball pitcher, okay, let's say that he has a fastball, he's got a changeup, a curveball, maybe it's some sort of slider, two-seam, whatever it is. If you just look at the stats, and this is true, like this isn't BS, if you look at stats of baseball players throughout the game, not in a vacuum, this is not true, but if you look at it on a macro level, this is true. Okay, that the more times that they see a pitcher in a 9-inning game later in the game, their odds of a hit go up. Okay, so why is that? Well, shoot, right? That's not that hard to understand. It's because I've seen his fastball in the first inning. I saw his curveball, and then by the time I get to my third at bat, I'm now seeing the same pitch over and over. At Penn State, we want to do the same exact thing on the offensive side of the ball. So we are very limited formationally. So you see under formations there, duo, trio, tray, spread, trips, and so on. That's really every formation that we have in our playbook. Now, we have the ability to do other things, but that's where we spend the meat of our time game plan. And the reason to go back to that analogy is if we limit ourselves formationally, we know that there's only so many pitches that a defensive coordinator is going to throw to us. So if I'm out in duo, right, which is our 2x2 with the tight end in the hip position, if I'm in that snap 20 times a game, I'm going to know pretty early on, just based on pre-snap shell alone, what you're giving me. Not only that, if I rep the same things over and over from the same formation throughout the week, my guys have now begun to get a feel for like, okay, when we're in 2x2 in the hip position, okay, here's the top 3 looks, okay? Whoever put that in there, I appreciate that. That's the handle. All right, so hopefully that makes sense to you guys. If you have any questions, please reach out. The fronts we'll concentrate, are they odd or even? Where's the shade? Where's the 3 technique? We'll get into that a little bit more here, but basically there's certain runs that we like to run more to the shade, more to the 3. I'm sure many of you guys are familiar with that. And then down at the bottom here, we want our best numbers, our best angles, where's the most grass, and who are our best matchups. We'd say that constantly. And man always equals matchups. If it's man coverage, all bets are off. Who is my best matchup? One thing I wanted to circle back to is the forced defender. So we're always trying to find someone in a defensive scheme that has 2 jobs. Okay, let's take cover 4, for example. Okay, the boundary safety. Can we put him in conflict by running at him, right? He's the D-gap defender. He also is the D-quarter player. Can we run at him, get him to commit to his D-gap responsibility and throw a glance behind his head? Again, that's not revolutionary. Everyone in college football, high school football, NFL, everyone is doing that. But in every defensive scheme, someone's always the forced defender. Someone always has 2 jobs. Who is it? We want to find out who and how we can best exploit them. just wanted to show real quick this is one of our call sheets. I just asked, like, if you guys are at home, you can take a picture of this. I just asked that, like, you don't put it on the internet, at me on Twitter, and then get me fired. Okay, the point is this. This is a very small call sheet. Okay, like, this was our whole normal down game plan versus Indiana last year. And this was as big as our whole call sheet was the entire season. And the reason being is that Indiana does a great job defensively. They also present many different defenses that can give you a hard time, just because to go back to that pitcher's analogy, they have so many pitches in their toolbox, and this is why it was bigger than normal. But even still, it's relatively small. The last point I want to make is this. If you limit yourself by what you are in formationally, you will get a feel pretty early on, like, okay, is the D coordinator just closing his eyes and saying, okay, what's the down and distance? I don't even need anything else. Tell me the down and distance. Or is he waiting for you to align in tray before he can make his call? So part of this whole reason, the whole method behind the madness is, if we limit ourselves, we can also find out pretty early on, is this D coordinator calling it based on what I'm in formationally, whether I'm in 11, 12, or 21 personnel, or is it all D&D driven, meaning that every time I'm in 2nd and 7 plus, he already has his call thrown out there. Someone asked, what do the letters in parentheses stand for? That's our tempo. Okay, good question. So if you go to Blazers, right? So on top, oh, nice. Hopefully you guys can see this, what I'm drawing on. That's a nice circle there, huh? So if you look at the top left here, what we define as going like full speed, right, or like NASCAR, that is going to allow us what we believe to run fastest. But not only that, it's a play that we feel we could go up against any defensive look. So there's some, like, if you go down here, right, like this was a play action shot. We didn't feel confident that, like, for instance, we didn't want that play up against middle field close. So that was kind of a check with me. Hey, if they end up going to cover 3, some sort of 3-week or 1 invert, whatever, we didn't want to have that play up. So hopefully that answers that question there. All right, so let's get into it. Like I said, I'm going to bounce around a little bit here, guys. I'm going to go to what I believe is our best stuff. And if at the end you're like, hey, I actually was more interested in this or that, then let me know, okay? So just real quick, this is our what we define as a wrong way run, okay? So you guys can see that up there. And again, like I'm sure you guys are taking screenshots or whatever. That's totally cool. Just please do not put it on the internet. The wrong way run to us is this. The wrong way means that we're switching responsibilities between our quarterback and our back, okay? So on inside zone, this is zone read like we all know and love. The triangle indicates the read key. Instead of the quarterback being the person that's going to read it and then, okay, based on the DN's movement, I'll then hand it, we're going to switch responsibilities, meaning that the quarterback is going to be downhill and that the back is going to be the perimeter runner. So I'm going to go to the film here in a second. I just want to say that obviously through Zoom, the film can be very, very choppy. So I'm going to pause it to make a point, and I may just continue the film on a continuum so that way that the film's not as choppy. Okay, the last point I'll say is this. On the perimeter, so if I'm on the back side of the run, which is really play side, because the running back is coming this way, these guys are either 2 for 2 or 3 for 3 based on how you ran it, meaning they're essentially, you block the man over you and you want to be head up to slightly outside, because ideally this ball would wind all the way around in a perfect world. Now, when this was first installed, we used to say, like, hey, get your hat way outside. This is like outside zone to you. Get it outside. But what ended up happening was these guys were undercutting us, and it was kind of a disaster because we would get TFL, and there was all this green grass. So my point is we've now changed the perimeter blocking points to screw, meaning get my helmet on his helmet.
Not my problem.
Okay, so let's go to the film here. And again, guys, I apologize for the choppiness. It is what it is. I'm just going to play it through, and we'll go from there. So if you can see my cursor, I have the boundary DN was my read there. And look, for whatever reason, when you hand it to the Saquon Barkley guy, sometimes the play just works better. All right, so I'm going to pause it here. Here's my read, right? These guys up front, they don't care. They don't care. It's just zone read to them. We're just changing the path so that the back is now the perimeter runner, and then my quarterback. And by the way, the quarterbacks, I should have said this. His aiming point is the inside leg of the play side bar. Okay, or A gap, however you want to frame that. The reason why we don't normally say A is because we would rather him divert closer to the B than the A, which is why we settled on inside leg of the play side guard. So in this case, it'd be like right here. All right, so the way that we read the D end, okay, we say EDA, eyes, demeanor, athlete. Where are the DN's eyes? What's the DN's demeanor? And what type of athlete is he? Right? So I, make a tongue-in-cheek joke about Barkley, but in all seriousness, you end up just getting more gives a lot of times because the kid's such a freak athlete. So if you guys were going to install this, if you have a back that you feel great about, it may just induce more gives because he can out-athlete the DN. Again, here's my read. He plays out. Now the quarterback's downhill. Someone asked, is the quarterback taking a few shuffle steps with his eyes on the end man? So he should not. So Coach asked a pretty good question there. I'm just going to pause this for 1 second, if I can at least. Well, we'll let it run. So, Coach, we want him to remain flat-footed. So, hopefully you guys can see the Bruce Springsteen album behind me. What's better than Bruce? Nobody. That we want him to just be flat-footed like this, what we say pick up and put down. So let's see this clip here. So that's much better. That's more of what we're looking for. I don't know why it won't let me. I'm just gonna play that back. Give me 1 second if I can have my cowboy here.
Yeah, I just need to get the clips and everything.
Your wife's doing that.
If we're gonna do it tonight, and now I always want to go and add a tag to playing and train.
So just go back to this quarterback footwork here. You'll see that he just picks it up and he puts it down. Just real quick, not to get like too far into the weeds here, because like I said, I want to try to make this like a greatest hits
Playbook of.
So the DN, right? So in this case, we're reading the field DN. The DN just kicked down. So right now they're in 3 down. True, I think we would all agree. Just kicked down into a 4-eye. So now the tackle will make the call like, hey, bro, the tackle just moved in. So I'm going to arc release him and then get to my work. So you'll see the tackle like hit his hip. And that's telling the quarterback, look, this might be more likely for a keep, because I have to go outside my work, which may induce the read key to come out with me. And you'll see that happen in this clip. Okay, so the tackle arc release, the DN goes out with him, quarterback's downhill and finishes a run.
That's huge. Just comes down to whether or not we want to combine that with shallow.
And again, the beauty of installing these wrong way runs is the guys up front, they really don't care what's going on in the backfield, right? So, to like for your line coach, this is still just zone read, like we all know. All right, good teach clip, right? TFL, perfect. That's exactly how we want the play to work. All right, so the coaching point is this: like, if my mom was going to watch this, she's like, "Oh, he did the wrong thing." It's like, well, I mean, not really, right? Like the quarterback can only do so much. This is on the back, 100%. So if you guys are going to install the wrong way run, one of the things that you have to tell the back is this: you have to wait before the quarterback catches the snap. Because what happens here, and again, hopefully you guys can see it at least okay, I'll play it back twice, is the back goes too fast. And what ends up happening is by the time the quarterback is trying to read the field end, I should put a triangle around it, is trying to read the field end, it happens too fast. And he can't make an educated decision. So watch this. The back has already really crossed the plane. He's already right on his front foot, and the quarterback has no time to make a decision. So I think that's a clear illustration of that right there. Cool.
And the interesting thing
A
is,
couple more questions here.
I mean, if you look at that, all right, if it's man, if that guy, the safety's down.
All right, the play side tackle. What is play side tackle on coaching point for tackle? Whose responsibility on the 4-eye release? So, coach is asking about whose responsibility is on the 4-eye release.
But if
That. I'm trying to think if you're getting at that Washington State clip. So that tackle is told if you do not feel like you can get on your work properly, meaning if he's kicked down into a 4-eye, that is when you would arc release. So anytime he goes inside of your face, that would then induce the arc release. I hope that's, like, it's hard for me to understand that question exactly. I hope that's what you're getting at there. But the tackle has no concept of what's going on outside of him, coach. So, like, guys, if he's a 4-eye, that would just induce, like, that week by game plan, we ended up, hey, guys, you know, they play 3 down with 4 down spacing. So, or 4 down with 3 down spacing, we're going to arc release anytime they're in a 4-eye. So I hate to give you the cop out of like, oh, that was a game plan deal. But A, that was a game plan deal. And B, the other one is that we knew based on where he would be, like, hey, if he's going to be inside, then you would arc release.
the box for the run game, and he's like, we run hitches, and he's got a.
All right, so guys, at the end here, like, quite obviously, I appreciate all the questions. I just don't want to waste everybody's time if it's fairly specific. But, shoot, we're all home right now, right? So I'm happy to take all these afterward, and I'll give you my contact, and we'll get on the phone. And again, like, please just keep the questions coming. I don't want to derail everything, though. Okay? All right, so I'm going to go to our power read real quick. This is what I believe that we do exceptionally well here, and we have a couple of wrinkles off of it. Okay, so what we just watched was a backside read. So this is a front side read. So this is read power like we all know and love, right? We're reading a front side DN or the final C-gap defender. So the triangle, as you can see, is the read key, what we call a king or a jack. So we would love this to a 2-high, 4-down team with a 3 and the 5 to the field. Like, boom, love it. Okay, the wrinkle I'll show after this is if you don't get that and they go 1-high. Okay, so we will king back to the will, whatever you guys call that, juice, whatever it is, be back. Okay, we'll be back on the shade. We're going to wrap as tight as humanly possible. We're going to scrape paint with our pulling guard. Our tight end will arc release the DN. Don't touch the read key. And he will have one of 3 options, okay? Like, and again, like, there's a lot of magic in the way that, in my opinion, the way that this is framed to your escort player, okay? So he will have one of 3 responsibilities. So either have the blitzer, okay? So if the Sam came, that's one. He'll either have the scrape player, right? So even though in some ways this Mike's double assigned, right? So if the Mike is going to scrape way out, there's no way that our guard could get there. So our tight end would take him. That's 2. Or the alley player, right? So that's BSA. Blitz, scrape, alley. On the perimeter, it's the same thing for these other guys as the wrong way run, meaning I want to get screw to screw. This ball ideally is on the outside. You'll also see a lot of in these clips, we have the back on the same side, and we just call that same side power. The reason we did that is A, sometimes that can help with mesh charge, just clean it up a little bit. B, it's just a quick way for us to get the ball in the perimeter. So I think you'll see some, like Iowa comes to mind, right? So Iowa, like from now until the earth becomes flat, shoot, at this rate, maybe that'll be next week. But Iowa always runs a shade 5, quarter, half. Like that's what they do. And they have a will tucked in there. So in that case, we liked it on the same side because we could just pitch, and it was a foot race into the boundary for at least like 4 to 6 yards a clip. Okay, so again, you guys can see that for yourself. Perfect. So here we go. Here's the first clip. All right, so here's our read key. Now this footwork real quick. So there were a couple questions on the back's footwork. Like, maybe the back could have aligned a little wider on that wrong way run. In this case, what we say is shuffle. And it's like, look, like, what does that even mean, right? But when we're repping it, it's more of like, hey, shuffle of what we say 6-inch step. Now, is it actually going to be 6 inches? Like, no, 100% not. But the verbiage of shuffle and 6 inches, we're trying to frame, okay, it's a 2-step movement, a 6-inch step, so something relatively small within my framework, and I'll toss the ball. One note on the tosses is you'll have some guys that are like, okay, McSorley, before Clifford, he was fine with one hand. We had a kid that was like predominantly lefty, even though he threw righty, believe it or not. So like going to the left side, he would just toss it with his left hand. It's whatever the kid feels comfortable with. Okay, so just back to this. Here's my read key. These guys are arc releasing. My tight end is on blitz scrape alley. And again, I'm just going to let it run for choppiness purposes. I lied to you. I actually want to draw this up. Sorry. Okay. Here's my read key. And again, like the reason why this box is such an advantage is if you have the guy way plussed out here, right? Let's say the Sam's here. I mean, shoot, the Sam's not even in there. You can tell your play side tackling guard, like, look, guys, you can be thick on this. You're going all the way back to here. We have time. Be thick on that. And again, my tight end of the boundary, he's on blitz, scrape, and alley. So in this clip, as we just saw, this Will became the scrape player, which is why he took him. This guy right here can eat more food than any one human being in one sitting. That's not even close in the history of the world.
They had in their mind that they were supposed to throw the ball on every freaking RPO.
All right, here it is, one final time.
But anyway, I really, the stick concept maybe a little bit easier. But
Someone asked why the left guard split was so tight. It's the only shot that we felt like he could get over there. Not a great player in space. We wanted him as tight as could be. It's a valid point, though. Like, if defenses are picking up on that and you're concerned about it, that can be a dead giveaway. All right, so here you go. A little bit of gamesmanship involved. This is the same play as earlier. Same exact play. We snug the split again. Now that the DN comes up field, we'll pull the ball.
And totally dummying this thing down even more. You know, trying to make things 4 words or less. And you know what I mean? Because with us not knowing when we're going out.
Shuffle is referring to the quarterback. Sorry if I kind of glossed over that. The key coaching point for the running back on this stuff is to just take one quick bucket step and to remain in pitch relationship. So we don't want him to be sprinting out. One term that we use in special teams that I actually think is kind of ingenious is relative spacing. And it's now almost every position coach has used it both on the defensive and offensive side of the ball. Meaning like, hey bro, like have a sense, right? Don't be 35 yards away from the quarterback. He's not going to pitch it to you. Don't be 6 inches from the quarterback. That's too close. So without being vague, right? Like, shoot, you still got to give the kid a parameter, but we're saying like, hey, keep relative spacing. So if the quarterback's arm is out and your arm is out, that's about what relative spacing should be for pitch relationship. And I'm sure you've heard some like option is 2x4, right? 2 yards of depth, 4 yards of width. Fine. Oh, all right, so this is a great teach clip. This shows the smarts of Pat Freiermuth. Must be because he's from Massachusetts, and all of us from the City of Champions just kind of have a different level of understanding. All right. Oh, shoot. Sorry. Let me go back here.
Looking at this point, I just think we gotta dummy it.
Question just popped up. All right. Wow. Somebody just gave me a pump me up. I appreciate that. All right. So look, this is who Pat, right, our tight end, decides like, okay, is he a straight player? Do I need to take him or do I not have to take him? So our field DN is who we're reading, right? We put the back on the same side. And again, you can see like just look how clean this is, right? 4 down, 2 high. We have great numbers to the field.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, it may make us better just by.
It does help when you have an NFL back in Miles Sanders. All right, so my point is this, is Freiermuth is releasing the DN, right? The DN's the read key. We've well established that. And he's like, okay, I have the blitzer, then I have the straight player, and then I have the alley player. So who is it going to become? And eventually you see him crane his head back real quick and say like, oh, shoot, 35's now the straight player.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on terminology?
He works to the field. He's like, oh, there he is. Now I'm on my work. That's well done. That's harder than it looks. All right, so I think we're good on power read there. Like I said, I'm just going to try to give you the best stuff that we have.
We're not going out until.
All right, so this stuff is awesome. This was a brand new concept to me in coming to Penn State that I think everyone should carry if you're a power read team.
Yeah.
Okay, so verse
One less thing to
verse 2 high, right?
think about.
Ideally, we want to run what we just discussed, which is the power read. Verse 1 high, okay? So, like, let's say that this Sam is screwed into here, right? My free safety's up here. Verse 1 high, we ideally want to run back into the boundary away from the support player and read exactly the way that we would read power read, except instead of our read key being the down lineman, it's now, as this triangle indicates, a second level player. So everything else is the same. Everything else is the same to everyone else on the field. The only thing that changes for is the pulling guard and the quarterback. That's it. Okay, and I kind of lied. The tight end wouldn't take the scraper because the scraper in this case is the read key. So, and again, like maybe it doesn't make sense just looking at this drawing. When we get to the film here, I'll kind of pause it.
Skill guys, we could add a running backs complement tonight. We wanted to go.
Okay, so look, whether you believe this to be man-to-man, some sort of bracket, or one high, like I think we can all agree that the support player is going to be to the field without question, right? Like just whatever. You guys are smart people. You can see that this relationship, and based on the boundary safety, it's coming this way. Not only that, look at how tight the will is, right? The will's almost he's in like the field A gap. So here's our read key. We're comboing all the way back to here. And then our pulling guard, instead of wrapping, who would have been the read key and power read, he's now going to kick him out in case the quarterback pulls the ball and goes upfield. Like I can tell you right now, before this, obviously, I know because I've seen the clip, but even pre-snap, if I'd never seen this clip before, I would tell you that this was going to be a give because this will, right? We've all heard the expression, if he's even, he's leaving. If the will, we feel that we can beat, I think this was a third down too, to be honest, that we can beat to the landmark, done, no problem.
Yeah, we're calling it back. So
and you see if, let's just say for whatever reason, right, like late in the cadence, this Will came screaming this way, then the quarterback, same footwork to him, right, 6-inch shuffle, shuffle, would have then kept it and followed the inside hit for the pulling guard.
A play in the huddle. So say they call, I don't know, they call zone right.
All right, so coach asks, what if the D end expands, right? So that's a great question. That's the one thing that can give this play problems. So that's why we have, like, when I get to it, like, we have a swing tag off of this. The other thing that we can do is we can fool around with that D end where if we pull the guard, we can get up inside that end playing outward. But you're 100% right. If the D end plays out, that's what can give this play a problem. What you'll find, though, Coach, is that a lot of times that's your concern. But a DN that expands, if he feels like he has a pulling guard coming his way, he normally comes back in because if he's expanding, he's the contained player, true? So he'll normally try to take on that pulling guard, and it ends up being not as big of an issue as you believe it to be.
They like the back going into the boundary simply because he's usually one-on-one, apparently more into the boundaries. I don't know if that makes sense. In our hash marks, that's a little bit scary, but it seems to me there's more room to cover in there. But anyway, but if that's the way we set that up, I think that I like that because it just seems like.
All right, so one thing you'll find with these, and again, I'm not sure why.
Into each week.
Maybe it's because the questions are popping up. One thing that you'll find on this play is if you can wind the play back, it ends up being bigger on the keep, that is. Because you have the guard and the back both going that way. There's so much action that if the quarterback on the pull winds back, it ends up being a huge play a lot of the time. So when we install this, a lot of times we'll say, I just wanted to go back to this clip. We'll say something to the effect of, the efficient plays go to the back, the explosive plays go to the quarterback. And I think it's a good way to frame it. Again, so the reason why we started in empty is we wanted to say for sure that they were going to be one high, man-to-man, okay? Here's my read key. He couldn't be more deployed from the box. That induces a keep for the quarterback, and he ends up winding all the way back. One good note on the perimeter, this is good for like any age group. Push, don't pull. If I'm engaged on the perimeter, push, don't pull. Push, don't pull. Because at the point of disconnect, if I pull, I get flagged every time. That's what we want to push at disconnect, not pull. Again, 9's my read key. And Coach, whoever asked that about the D-end expanding on that clip, the D-end actually did expand slightly, but the action ends up tightening that.
Anything else? Let me know. All right, dude. That's it. Yeah.
All right, this is pretty cool. So the clip that you just watched prior was actually from 2017. And 2018, whatever, Michigan beat us by like 600 points. It's terrible. We got them last year. Okay, but like, shoot, Don Brown, defensive coaches at Michigan, incredible coaches. We knew that they were going to watch the film again, just like we did. So this is the same exact play. Now, the read key, let me just go to the tight shot here. The read key is the exact same, but we brought the tight end backside, knowing that one of them would track. One of them's going to track. It's man-to-man. We know it's man-to-man without a doubt. One of them's going to track. We'll read the other one. So that's what we did. Just watch how this plays out. And I think it's cool because you can kind of see the genesis of where the play's coming from. A lot of action going there. Good stuff. All right, so on the counter read, someone asked if the DN spills. So, Coach, like, we just want as tight as humanly possible to that guy. Like, we're saying that as a play caller, we're going to control the DN. Like, if the DN's giving you all these wacky reads and you don't feel great about it, then, hey, like, that's kind of on us as play callers. But if the tight end's going to spill, if we can kick him out, we want to kick him out. If you have to log him, then that is what it is. But there's a reason why we want to be as tight to scrape paint behind that double team. Again, that's what we say, scrape paint, meaning we want to be as tight up that double team as humanly possible.
Yeah.
All right, I got like 15 minutes here, so I'm just going to skip ahead. So you guys got the idea that this is good stuff. I just wanted to show, so like again, like this is one wrinkle that you can do for a DN up the field. Okay, if I shoot my back, right, meaning I shoot motion, I exit my back real quick. Already, not only does that influence the read key, right? I mean, shoot, this is man-to-man. Here's my read key. Whether your quarterback is low IQ or high IQ, and then like that guy pretty much just went to go get a sip of Gatorade. I'm pretty sure that you can keep the ball on this one. Ancillary benefit is the field DN also will likely go with the back. My read key deploys. That puts, I mean, look, truthfully, the guard, like, okay job, I guess. He really didn't do much. The backfield action blocked the DN on its own. You can take 2 for 1. Okay, same thing here. And that's like, that is our same side power with the counter read, if that makes sense. That action.
November? Really? Yeah.
We have 2 quarterbacks on the field there, of course. Cool. I just want to go to a couple things here. I hope you guys can see this on my screen. That is some of our best RPOs. Real quick.
Wow. Yeah,
All right, so this is what we call our 3-phase RPOs, okay? So we're switching gears here a little bit. Strictly 80s Joel. We're playing the hits right now, okay? Someone asked if we consider that bash. Yes, 100%. I think I answered that one. And again, guys, like if you have any questions after this, obviously just let me know. Okay, so here's my initial read key. Here's my pitch key. This is inside zone like we all know and love. It's zone read. We run a ton of split flow, meaning that the C-gap defender is actually coming from the opposite side of the ball. I'm sure all you guys run this too, right? Where the tight end's coming across and he's kicking out the DN. This is the same exact concept, except instead of that, the DN's going to release into the flat, and then whoever my wall player would be on the backside, the tight end is going to run a corner, and it really becomes like smash off of zone read. Okay, so just to clarify, here's my DN. If the DN plays out, well, shoot, we're just running inside zone. These 5, the big hog bodies up front, that's zone read to them. If the DN induces a give, if the DN induces a pull, meaning the quarterback's going to keep the ball, the quarterback will then decide to give it, quote unquote, either throw it to the tight end coming across the ball, or in this case, the other tight end running the corner. So I'm just going to rewind this. We'll watch it from the wide, and then we'll watch it from the tight. So I'm reading the boundary DN. On the disconnect, I'm going to high-low the corner. Boom. It's a pull. Corner fell off, and he walks in. Very smooth. that's exactly how you want to enter the end zone once around.
Right.
He did get in. He did get in. All right, here's the same exact play. This is against Kentucky. Still makes you sick to watch some of this film, of course. All right, so we are reading the boundary end. Based on his movement, once I pull the ball, if the corner latches are flat, which in this case is the tight end, we'll then throw it over his head to the corner route, that is. If the corner back latches the corner route, we'll throw underneath and take the flat.
That's the only thing that's saving me. I just freaking hang out and
Touchdown.
just listen to these.
Okay, so it's very multi-purpose. It's a very difficult play to stop to a nub set in the red area. And one of the beauties of this play, in my mind, is that if anything goes awry, right? Like one of the dangers in running naked is what? Field pressure. You get murdered, right?
Yeah.
Is that if something happens that you don't like, you can still just control the play call and that, like, hey, bro, just give the ball to the back. Just give the ball to the back. That DN came screaming down. We pull it, touchdown, money.
There was a guy.
Coach just wanted to jump in and give you a 10-minute warning.
Cool. Thank you, Coach. All right, so there's that. We got a couple more of those.
Free for the day or something like that. The other ones.
All right, look. I worked at Princeton. You got to put two quarterbacks on the field at once. I told you greatest hits. Here we go. All right, no BS. If you guys have a roster where you think two kids can play and both can throw, please call me. I'm going to leave my contact here. I have a bunch of this stuff. It's awesome. Not enough people do it. Okay? So here's our read key.
I thought that I still pulled a replay up the other day.
Sorry. Here's our read key. Here's quarterback number 2. And then here's our normal starter, normally in the gun, okay? Based on this read key's movement, okay? I'm sorry, it's actually, this is who we were reading. Based on his movement, we will either throw a skinny glance behind his head. If he ends up dropping off for whatever reason or buzzing out into the boundary, we will hand the ball off and we will run some sort of sprint smash to the field.
To something that has,
So here we go.
Has all the. You ever heard of the Cool Clinic?
Gonna play it back again.
Oh, dude, I actually.
Again, part of the beauty is this: is if you put two quarterbacks on the field at the same time and both can throw, these guys on this sideline are going absolutely bonkers. Who's going to throw it? Watch the trick play. Watch this or that. This was actually very inexpensive for us to install. And the beauty is when those guys are going insane, that panic then seeps into the players. They're like, where's this coming from? Where's that coming from? And you just call inside zone at that point. All right. I got off on a tangent there. Hold on. Sorry. Here's my read key. We said that week, hey, if he pressures, just hand the ball off because they're going to rotate opposite. No problem. Beautiful. Okay, that was also an explosive play. Next play here, and I know this film looks like it's from the Cold War. It's not that old. Okay, our read key into the boundary here. He ends up going to the field. Okay, now I'll pull the ball, and I'm going to throw it behind his head. If he had stayed here, we would have handed the ball to our second quarterback, and we had sprint smash to the field. And again, there's only 2 clips of this I have on here. Some people roll their eyes immediately, and they're like, please just show me the Penn State stuff. I'm a firm believer that you can run this at any level. It's very good stuff. All right, let me go back to the a couple more bites on that than I originally thought. All right, not to go too far down the weeds here, but look, guys, so like on this protection, right? This is sprint protection to the guys up front. The difference is this: your backside tackle and your backside guard are fan. Okay, so I'll tell you the full call. So bulky roll was our like, hey, we're rolling, we're sprinting it out. And war meant that we were reading the weak side linebacker, and war meant fan. So the reason I give you that full call is we morphed sprint out and fan into one call. The coaching point to the tight end is you have whoever the final D-gap defender would be. You first have to check pressure. If no pressure, help who's ever inside of you, in this case, the tackle. Okay? The final point to your center, and I know I'm going like rapid fire right now. The final point to your center is that he's the end man on the slide. So whoever he's locked on, you have to take him. So if he crosses the field, well, shoot, this guard is blocking for the sprint out when we hand it to the second quarterback. So he has to stick it, meaning he's the end of the slide, and that these two are fan. One note, not that you'd ever advertise this, and definitely don't bring it up to the referees before the game, is the second quarterback loses all pocket protection because you've already handed it. So you can't tell that kid to throw it out or slide or any of that stuff. And again, like a lot of people don't know that, just don't advertise it. Only us and the 391 other people in the lobby. Some guy just left. Maybe he wasn't satisfied. Okay, I think that answered those questions.
And that was where Barry and I always.
All right, I'm just going to show you one more RPO off of, what do we have, like 5 minutes? Perfect. One more RPO off of that counter read.
And you're not always hip to hip when you do that. And,
all right, so this is the counter read. So that's back to essentially our power read, but instead of that, we are reading the second level defender. So here's what we did. We're like, well, hold on. If they're going to play that boundary safety that far over, how about we put him in conflict with the run and then a vertical by 3? So it's the same exact thing to the 5 guys up front. And like, I know I'm saying that ad nauseum, but like so much of our offense is limited formationally and just a couple RPO tags off a run scheme so that those 5 guys get the same reps, blocking the same types of blocks on the same types of angles over and over and over. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, walk through it, boom, we're on the field. Again, we are reading him. He's going to come up and play the run, pull the ball. It's the same footwork for the back. I'm sorry, for the quarterback and the back. One thing I'll say about this play, I'm sure all you guys are seeing a lot of cover 4. 4 steal, what you may call like 4 cheat or 4 poach. Again, in saying what you guys already know, in the boundary safety, taking 3 vertical. I just caution you with this play against 2 high. There's a chance that if this boundary safety were in a 4 steal look, he could come and just absolutely decapitate your tight end, or even worse, intercept the ball. So again, we removed the element of the quarterback keep. We said the quarterback keep, in this case, is keeping the ball and throwing it to the tight end. Hey guys, I apologize as all these questions are coming in. Just please, you can reach out to me afterward. I'm happy to talk about that. Same exact play, ball on the ground. By the way, watch this clip by Trace McSorley. This is why he's a successful player and a good human being. Unbelievable. He made the tackle. So look, the novice says he threw him too far inside. Fiction. The tight end split, you should be at, if you're not on the hash, you should be at most -2. Pump some air into it. We're trying to put conflict on that Mike linebacker. He was way too tight. All right, last one here. All right, so in this case, okay, we are reading our initial read key which is right here. If, while we're on the path, we see that this boundary safety, and this is what we classify as reading through the area, okay? Reading through the area, meaning if I can tell that the boundary safety is also stacked on my read key, I know for sure that this field safety, who I don't have eyes on, but I'm going to trust the play caller, will not creep into the vision. Okay? My read key is stacked with a boundary safety. No one's home.
Correct. That's what
Deadly against a too high team. Deadly. If this stacked, I'm sorry, I know I keep rewinding and I'm trying not to do that. If the stacked boundary safety ended up moving this way, now my eyes will just stay on my normal read key, and we'd likely just give the ball into the boundary. Last coaching point on this play.
The tackle gets his offhand.
Okay, again, so just to draw it, we're bringing the back this way. We're bringing 3 vertical on just a slight seam.
And he's moving.
Here's your moneymaker. This is really the key to the play.
He's moving.
Your no depth corner, meaning there is no depth to this play. You will run a corner and take the field safety, what we say, take the trash out. Pull him out as high and as far as humanly possible. Because if not, then that field safety may get eyes inside and pick the ball off. All right, so that is end of the time here. I really appreciate all you guys tuning in. Up here is my Twitter handle. My email is I don't know the best way. I guess I could just put it in the chat. Is jeffcarp11@gmail.com. A lot of guys email, and that's fine. I'd also say, like, you can text me or call me. Text me to set up a phone conversation, and I'm happy to go through some of the stuff. If I can send it, I will. Or maybe I'll put it in the vault if that's easiest for everybody. But I appreciate you tuning in. Stay safe. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks, Coach Carpenter. We really appreciate all of your time. Sorry, I'm going to stop the... Sorry about that. I'm going to put a poll up here on the screen, and that is going to be for our attendees, and that'll help us out with some of our, if they're interested in some of the information from our partners.
Okay.
So I'm going to put that poll up. Otherwise, Coach Carpenter, thank you so much for all your time today, and we really appreciate all your help.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Are some of these guys still on your? Or I just feel kind of bad if some of the questions didn't get answered.
I think that's okay. You put your email up in the chat, correct?